Okay, so here we are in the final stage of lesson 15 velocity. Hopefully, you're not even watching this because you know what you're doing, but just in case, we're taking the mushroom and we're animating it so that the frog has an obstacle to jump over during this side scroller game that we have started putting together. So if you remember last time, what we did was we took this frog here, and when we push the up arrow, the frog is going to move up until it gets to a predetermined location on the screen, and then it's going to come back down. Now, something as well to keep in mind is these lessons where there's continuity between one activity and the next, it takes your code and just transfers all of the code to the next step, next stage. And so if you're just breezing through the puzzle and you get to the last part and you want to try to do it and you didn't do anything before, then it's not going to work. And so you need to make sure that you're completing all these objectives each time you're going through all of these things that take continuity and take several puzzles to be able to complete. So now you just need something for your sprite to jump over. This program already has a mushroom just past the right edge of the screen, but it needs to move towards your frog. So if we want it to move towards the frog, we just give it a velocity. And in this case, it's velocity x, as it says. Use the velocity x blocks to make the mushroom move left across the screen. Now, we don't even need to do this inside of the draw loop because we want it to move at the same speed all the time. So what we do is just from the sprites here, we're going to set the velocity x of the mushroom so we can do that right underneath where the mushroom is. So we say mushroom dot velocity x, and since we want it to move this way, if you remember, we go from 0 here to 400 here. So we're at a high number, we want it to go to a lower number, so it's going to be a negative velocity. So we have the frog moving up at a velocity of 2. So let's go ahead and move the mushroom at a velocity of 1. Actually, you know what? Let's do the mushroom at a velocity of 2, and then we'll change the frog to go at a velocity of 3. So it can be a little quicker than the mushroom. So we'll change that there, and we'll change the velocity here when it comes back down to 3. So therefore, when we run this, mushrooms start going to move, and we want the frog to jump and jump over the mushroom. And then the mushroom just keeps going on its way and ends up going off the edge of the screen. And there's no more mushroom. So we finished and completed this objective. We're just going to move on to the next one on here. And this is the final thing. What we need to do now is the game would be more fun if the frog can jump more than once. You can make the mushroom loop by checking whether it's moved past the left edge and moving it back to the right edge when it has. And in fact, this code is already in the program. So down here at the bottom, find the if statement that checks whether the mushroom has moved past the left edge, which is right here. If the mushroom has gone off the left edge of the screen, use the sprite.x block to set the mushroom's position back to the right edge if it has. Now, if you want the mushroom to kind of appear where it was before, then you would set the sprite.x, so right here. So this is all we've got to do. Move it back to the right. We just reset the location. Now, we're not adding to it. We're not using the counter pattern. We're not doing mushroom.x equals mushroom.x plus something. We're just resetting it to be at a certain location. And it's only going to go to that location once it's gone off of this left edge of the screen. So we want it to be at... so it's going from negative 30. We want it to go and be past the side of the screen here. So remember, this is 400. So we're going to make it 430. So once we run this, the mushroom goes. We can jump over it. Or you don't have to jump over it. It'll just go right through the frog, whatever. And then once it gets to this edge of the screen, goes off the screen, then it appears on the other side. Now notice I did 430 instead of 400, or even like 370, because if you did something like that, and let's speed up the mushroom here so we don't have to wait quite as long for it to have to loop. So we're going to make this negative 5 instead. Okay, so as this runs, you see if we do 370, it's going to appear like right here. Okay, it's not going to come from off the screen. And so that's why we did the 430. And even at the 400, if you'll notice what'll happen is it'll appear like half on the screen. So half of it will be here once it disappears, instead of the whole thing coming onto the screen. So that's why I set that at the 430 instead of the 400. So there you have it. After going through these tutorials, you should have a nice little side-scroller game where you're trying to jump over the mushroom. Of course, we're going to add complexity to this later on. We're going to keep track of a score. We're going to figure out if the mushroom touches the frog. We're going to add a lot of other stuff to it later as we go through these other lessons in the future. But for today, we're just figuring out how to get these things to move and be able to interact with the up arrow or whatever key you want to indicate to have it jump. So I hope you're able to figure this out and it's not too mysterious or too difficult for you. So thanks for making it to the end here, and just make sure that you have everything marked off on your lesson so you can get full credit for it.